Hello students, so in today's lecture we are going to do the poetic devices which are used in your poem or photograph. Okay, so poetic devices are a very important part of the poem. So what actually is a poetic device? These poetic devices are the literary devices used in poetry. Okay, and these are like the tools to create rhythm, enhance poem's meaning, intensify mood or feeling. So just like you use your accessories like necklace and anything to magnify your beauty, to magnify your personality, just like that these poetic devices intensifies the beauty of the poem. Okay, so these are tools which can magnify the meaning of the poem, which can give rhythm to the poem, which can intensify the meaning of the poem. Okay, so these are very important devices which a poet uses in a poem to magnify its beauty of the poem. Okay, so in this poem, a photograph, what all literary devices the poet has used, we are going to do that today. So if you'll start from the first stanza, the cardboard shows me how it was when the two girl cousins went paddling, each one holding one of my mother's hand, and she, the big girl, some 12 years or so. Till here, what all literary devices you will find is, the first thing you will find is alliteration. Now, what is alliteration? Alliteration is the repetition of consonant sound in a phrase. Okay, when you repeat the consonant sound, okay, when two neighboring sound words have the same consonant sound, then you can call that alliteration. Poetic devices has been used in that poem. How? If you look in the poem, you will find the words my mother's hand. So, my mother's. Here, M consonant sound is being repeated. So, that is why here alliteration has been used. Okay. And then the other literary device you will find in this stanza is enjambment. What is enjambment? Enjambment is a literary device again in which a sentence is carried over to the next line without a pause. So if you look into your book, you will see that the cardboard shows me how it was when the two girl cousins went paddling. Now in this, the meaning of the sentence is completing in two lines, right? In two lines, but in the first line, the poet has not used any punctuation like full stop, comma or anything at the end of the line. So that is why that sentence, that meaning of the sentence is being carried over to the next line, but without a pause, without a punctuation, without comma, without full stop. So that is why enjambment. Okay. So enjambment, you all must be clear with it now. Enjambment is a literary device in which a sentence is carried over to the next line without a pause. That means the meaning of the sentence is completing in two lines. Okay. So, but in the first line, the poet is not using any comma, full stop or any pause, any punctuation. Okay. So that is enjambment. Now moving on, all three stood still to smile through their hair at the uncle's camera. Uncle with the camera, a sweet face, my mother's, that was before I was born. And the sea, which appears to have changed less, washed their terribly transient feet. In these lines also, you will find enjambment where all three stood still to smile through their hair, no pause, at the uncle with the camera. The sentence is completing with the camera. But in the first line, through their hair. After that, he has not used any punctuation, no posal punctuation. So that is why enjambment again. Okay. And again alliteration also, how? Stood still. That means S consonant sound is being repeated, so that is why alliteration. And another alliteration you will find is through there. That means the alliteration sound, the consonant sound is repeating, so that is why alliteration. Again, in this stanza also you will find my mother's. That means again M consonant sound is being repeated, so that is why alliteration again. Okay. Now another literary device that you will find in these lines, at the last line, wash their terribly transient feet, is the epithet. Now what is the epithet? Epithet is the use of any adjective or any describing word, okay, along with another word which will describe that word or thing. Okay, for example, if what is the epithet that is being used here is the transient feet. Now how this feet is described as transient, something which is not permanent, which is subjected to change. Now this feet is being described as transient. So transient is the epithet here. Okay. So epithet actually is the use of adjective or any describing word along with some other word which will describe its meaning. Okay. So feet is being described as transient, so that is why epithet is transient. So here in these 4 lines you have noticed 3 poetic devices which are enjambment, alliteration, and the last one is epithet. Alright, now moving on to the next stanza. Again, some 20-30 years later, she would laugh at the snapshot, see Betty and Dolly, she would say, and look how they dressed us for the beach. The sea holiday was her past, mine is her laughter, both rare with the labored ease of loss. Now, in this line, you will find enjambment, where in the whole stanza, the poet has not used any pausal punctuation. The meaning of the stanza is being continued in 4 or 5 lines, 6 lines, and between those lines, he has not used any punctuation at the end of the line. Okay, now you will have to see at the end of the line what if the poet has used any punctuation or not. Okay, so enjambment is the first literary device or the poetic device that you will find in this stanza, and the next poetic device that you will find in this stanza is a new one, which is oxymoron. Now what is oxymoron again? Oxymoron is again a poetic device or a literary device which describes, which has 2 opposite ideas or meanings that are joined to create an effect. Okay, so the poet, when he uses an oxymoron poetic device, what does he do? He uses 2 words, okay, 2 words which would have different or opposite meaning. Now in this line you will see labored ease of loss. So labored ease of loss, where is that 2 opposite meaning words? One is labored and the other is ease. Okay, labored is something that will require too much effort, too much hard work from your side, and ease is something which is done easily, right? So here 2 words are attached with 2 different or 2 opposite meanings. So that is why this literary device or this poetic device is known as oxymoron. Okay, now labored ease of loss, what is the meaning? The poet here wants to convey that something that he earned with so much hard work, with so much of spending time all throughout his life, memories are labored, okay, they need hard work, they need so much of time. But when you lose a person, that memories also goes away very easily. Okay, so that is why the poet has used this labored ease and this is a literary device, very important literary device, which is known as oxymoron. Alright, and now in the last stanza, again you will find alliteration. Now she has been silent, silences. In the last stanza, again you will find alliteration, poetic device, where it's silence, silences. In this again, S consonant sound is being repeated, so that is why alliteration. Okay, so overall in this poem you have come across 4 poetic devices, which are alliteration, which is repetition of consonant sound, and enjambment. Enjambment is when a sentence is carried over to the next line without a pause. That means the meaning of the sentence is completed in 2 or more lines, but without any use of pause. Okay, and then the third one that you have learned is epithet. Epithet is use of any adjective or a describing word. Okay, and the fourth one that you have come across in this poem is oxymoron. What is oxymoron? Oxymoron is when 2 words with 2 opposite meanings or ideas are joined together to create some effect. So you have learned 4 poetic devices in this poem. I hope all of you are clear with this.